called Influence in Your Workplace. It's a free Zoom training that I have been inspired to do every other Friday, and probably until I would say November, depending on how the holidays hit for people. I don't know how busy everyone's going to be and all that, but it's free, and you can sign up for it on Eventbrite. I will have the link at the end of the training. And the next one is October 11th. So you can mark your calendar for that. I will go through a quick introduction of myself, but then I want to hear from both of you what it is that you do and why did you join this training. So I am an executive leadership coach. I have been coaching for over 30 years, not realizing that people have just been assigned to me to help them break through their obstacles. So I help entrepreneurs, I help business leaders, ministry leaders overcome the obstacles that they can't see because things get clouded and they get stuck. So I help them identify those obstacles and I challenge them, and then I help them overcome, and then we get moving forward. So I have the gift of leadership. It has been given to me by God. I am not ashamed to say that because it's definitely a spiritual gift. And it's something that you guys can carry too. It's something that you guys can grow in, you guys can develop in, and I'm here to help you grow in that. So these are my social media outlets here. This is my website. This is my Instagram, my Facebook, and LinkedIn. I try to keep everything the same. And that way you can find me and follow me and maybe ask questions, challenge me, private message me, do whatever you need to do to get some insight into what you're trying to achieve. There we go. So, introductions. I see your name. What role is it that you operate in? And what are you hoping to improve on with your leadership today? Who wants to go first?
I can, since my mic's on.
Okay.
I'm Elizabeth Canyars, and I'm the author of Stand for What is Noble. And that is my, just basically my mission. I'm an educator, life coach, trying to help people progress in their being an ambassador of Jesus Christ. And there's so many aspects to that. One of them is just treating with all people with dignity and respect and trying to navigate through showing the love of Christ to others, no matter how difficult the situation, whether workplace, neighborhood, or family. And so, what I hope to get out of this session was actually, I just love Cora and thought I would just learn so much from her and how she does her presentations. I am just reaching out into social media and presentations, and my goal is to also do Zoom presentations and things, which I have done plenty of Zoom meetings before. It was more of an appointment. In my previous practice, it wasn't a presentation. So it's a little different flavor. So I just, love learning from Cora. She's such an inspiration and can really see the Lord working in her life, and hope he uses me as much.
Well, thank you for that. And he will be using you for sure.
Thank
I
you.
think I think coaching is a gift for people to learn how to grow in, and it's inspiring to use the gift for people. How about you, Mallory?
Hi, I'm Mallory. So I'm sorry, my camera's off right now because I'm actually at work listening to this.
That's okay.
But I am actually taking this for a DMP leadership course. We have to listen to so many webinars and do so many hours of leadership based things. So that's actually why this caught my attention.
Cool.
So, I mean, I'm always looking for room for improvement. So anything that I can do to improve on my leadership skills, I definitely take advantage of. I am actually currently a manager at a hospice company right now.
Okay.
So, but I am working on my doctorate for my nurse practitioner.
Wow.
That's very cool.
Very dedicated to put in that
Yeah.
work.
No
Yes.
Yeah,
kidding.
not easy.
Which hospice are you
Yeah.
with?
Guthrie,
I'm not good.
in Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. No
Oh,
wonder I don't
okay.
know.
Yeah. Yep.
So you're out of state then.
Yes,
Oh, very cool. So you must have found me on Eventbrite then.
I did. Yep.
Oh, very cool. Well, I will tell you this, last session 2 weeks ago, that training is on YouTube.
Okay.
So you can even watch that, and I'll be uploading this one as well so that people can learn from it and see, what we talked about last time, because I threw in a lot of links and resources, and then I just want to pour into people, and I want to help them lead well. So
Thank
thank you
you.
for joining us. I really
Yeah.
appreciate that. Okay.
Absolutely.
Let's go to the next slide here. Okay, so today I want to talk about extraordinary leadership. The power of leading from your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Now, mind you, Mallory, I'm not sure if you're aware, but I am a Christian and I lead with a faith-based, very strong faith-based tone. I am the executive leadership coach in our college ministry as well, and I help lead our youth and young adults in that ministry. I'm also a youth leader in our youth ministry, and I also have a life group at my house that I hold every other Tuesday where I lead about 10 women as well. So I just wanted to give you that background as well.
Okay.
So the first thing that I want to talk about is leading from the heart. This is relational. This is what they call relational leadership. So leading from the heart is about earning influence through relationships rather than authority. So what I find with this is a lot of people that are in leadership think that they have to lead with authority rather than influence, and they don't understand how to flip that. I had that perfect case come up this week. So I'm in a networking group, and this person joins for the first time, but this person does not know how to lead with relationships at all. And how I picked it up was that this person was very heavy into trying to sell their product. It was all about what I have, and you need what I have. What is it that you use? Because my product is better. So it was a real big turnoff to the group, but it gave me an opportunity to think with my coaching skills. That opportunity is for me to gauge with him and to understand better how I can offer my services. So how can I coach him better? When someone like that enters the room and they're talking all about themselves and they're pushing their agenda and they're pushing, what you need to stand for, and you need to buy my product, or you need to agree with me, that's not a relational a leadership stance. So you lead from the heart and you earn influence by getting to know the person. How can I get to know these people in the room? So I am going to approach this person and I'm going to sit down with him and say, what would it look like if you were to enter the room and ask more questions about them rather than pushing your agenda about the product that you have to sell? So you have to think of ways when you approach a room, what am I going to talk about to engage the other people? I have to go to their heart. I have to ask them, how's your week been? A simple question. What are some wins that you have experienced this week? What have you been learning in this season? See, I'm not talking about my stuff. I'm not talking about you signing up with my life coaching services. I'm not trying to convince anyone in the room that they need my services. I genuinely want to learn more about the other person. So be thinking of ways of how you can relate to other people. The next one is through the soul. This is called spiritual leadership. And this is the distinction that sets us apart as a faith-based leader. So one of the things that I have learned is that I cannot be set apart from the world if I don't talk different, if I don't lead different, and if I don't even engage differently, right? So when I'm building friendships in business or when I'm building friendships in networking, I genuinely want to bring Jesus into all of my conversations. I want to talk about what is the Lord doing in their life? How do you see God working in that situation? These are some of the questions that I like to ask. And I like to challenge people with those kinds of thoughts, right? I like to challenge people with, what has the Lord been speaking into that situation when it comes to this? And then I sit back and I listen, because the Lord speaks to our soul through the Spirit, and our soul cannot be transformed until the Spirit goes in and starts transforming us, right? And he does that through the word, and he challenges us through other leaders that have more wisdom than us. So think about the spiritual leadership aspect that you carry. Another way is the mind. So this is called managerial leadership. And I believe, Mallory, this is going to apply to what you have just brought up with your career. So leading from our mind enables us to take a leader's instincts and inspiration and put them into action. And what this means is when you lead from the mind, there is another leader in the room that's going to inspire you. And now it's your responsibility to put them into action. So that's how you develop the mind. You listen in 3D. What is the other managers in the room saying? What are they doing? How are they acting? How are they responding? And then you adapt your mind to the wisdom of what they would do. And just ask them, if you were in my shoes, how would you handle that? See how it's an open-ended question? You're not asking for a right or wrong. You're just asking for perspective, because managerial leadership is perspective. So be thinking about ways that you can challenge the managers in the room. Okay, the next one is strength. Visionary leadership. That's what they call this. So you are the CVC, the Chief Vision Caster. We are responsible to keep hope and possibility in front of people and to those that we lead. We do this by talking about the future. We do this about challenging what the next 30 days, what the next 60 days, and what the next 90 days. You're the one that challenges the people in the room. What does it look like if we do something this way, or this way? Get the feedback. If we do it this way, what are you seeing? What are you feeling? What's your perspective? If we do it this way, down the road, and get everyone's feedback, because that helps you dream. It helps you talk in the future and talk through a visionary standpoint. I love visionary leaders because they inspire me. Okay, so let's discuss. Is there someone in your life who has modeled extraordinary leadership? Think about that person who has modeled extraordinary leadership. What set them apart? And what do you think it will take for you to become an extraordinary leader too? So I'll sit back and wait. And I just want to get a little bit of feedback from you guys. So is there someone in your life who has modeled extraordinary leadership?
I don't know for me if I'm connecting with the right word for leadership, but people that have really influenced me, which would be in a leadership way, were people that were excellent trainers and mentors. They weren't necessarily bosses or managers. They were mentors and trainers. But
That's good.
much to your discussion, I think that's number one, that they showed a sense that they believed in me, no matter how new I was or how far I was on the spectrum of adapting to the new environment or the new situation I was in. And were willing to take time to answer my questions. I think that was really important, that I they would take time, whether or not in the meeting or maybe after the meeting. But I felt like they were willing to serve and give to make sure I was moving forward. But underlying the whole thing was believing in me.
Okay. How about you, Mallory?
So as I'm thinking about this, one person that sticks out to me specifically was my divisional lead petty officer when I was in the Navy.
Mm,
He literally taught me everything that I knew about the military, about my job in the military. Anytime I had a question, I would ask him. He never made me feel like it was a stupid question or that it wasn't something that needed to be asked. He was almost like a big brother type figure to me. And especially being in that high stress environment, that's helpful. So he is one person that I still actually keep in contact with to this day.
Excellent.
yeah, that is good. Yep. It's very important to nurture those relationships because they're so pivotal in our growth, right? Because as they grow, we grow. That's why I love leadership. I just love how people can pour into each other and just keep developing. And okay, thank you for sharing that. Okay, so the first thing that begins with leadership is leading ourselves. So to lead others, we must first lead ourselves better. So think of some ways that you can discipline yourself and how to lead yourself better. I know one of the ways that we talked about this a little bit last week was reading, listening to podcasts, signing up for emails, surrounding yourself with other leaders and making sure that, like you said, Mallory, staying in contact with those people. One of the things that, when I was first beginning to learn the gift, I used to think that I had to be, like a good follower. You have to be a good follower. You can't lead yourself until you learn how to follow. And once I embraced that principle, I thought, well, if I follow, what people that are leading themselves well, eventually I will learn how to lead myself well. Eventually others will begin to follow me. So that is another principle that I have learned over the years with leading, like even youth and young adults, the younger generation. They come to me for a lot of things, and I always tell them it's very important that you follow strong leaders because that's how you build your influence in the workplace. Okay, so I want to challenge you now with some of these questions. So which one of these statements best describes you? And I found like this really even challenged me. So I pray for my coworkers and family daily. I regularly let my team members know that they are valuable to our organization and and I can't see, and there is essential to the cause. I'll let you guys read that because my little screen's in the way. I pray for wisdom for my teammates so that they will grow in influence. I judge my success as a leader by how well I'm serving my team. And I set goals with and for my team members and create follow-up plans to measure their results. So out of those 5, which one of those statements best describes you right now in this season?
For me right now, I'd probably say 2, although I do pray for people. I think I'm trying to put more emphasis on making sure I'm intentional about
Yeah.
letting people know how valued they are.
Yeah, that's good. What about you, Mallory?
I'm actually torn between 2 and 5. I like to let people know how appreciated they are, but I also like to set goals and then make sure that things are being followed through with to drive the team in the right direction.
Right.
Yeah. So then you guys can both be thinking, like, make a list. How can I get better?
Mhm.
What are some ways that I can step up my game to lead my team better than I did yesterday. Because leadership is not like feeling bad about yourself that you missed the goal. It's always about like a self-check. For me, that's how I get better at my leadership. I'm always asking myself, okay, how can I lead my team better? How can I lead this circle of friends better? I had an epiphany this week that I was not challenging our young adults enough. And I kept asking the Lord, like, what am I missing? What am I missing that I could be doing better? And he gave me this thought and said, when they walk into the room, when it's a Wednesday night, because we have a heavy presence of young adults, go up to them and ask them, do you have a notebook and a pen with you today? And if they don't, then challenge them and say, well, I'm going to challenge you to have a notebook and pen next week, because what I'm going to start doing is after every sermon, I'm going to sit down with you and I'm going to ask you 3 things that stuck out to you in this sermon. So I thought to myself, well, that could be used in the workplace, right? I could go up to my team and say, okay, you took some notes after this leadership training. So what 3 things stood out to you? Let's talk about it. Why did it stand out to you? And how are you going to implement what we learned about today? So those are some of the things that you can be thinking about to challenge yourself. Okay, so I get asked this question a lot. How do I know I've become a leader? At what point do I know I've arrived? Well, I can tell you, you actually never arrive. You just become a leader. So when you develop the skills and the competence to put that influence into action, that's how you know. Meaning you sit next to someone and you start showing them the things that you know, showing them the things that you have learned. That's called wisdom. Wisdom is knowing when to share your knowledge and to whom you need to share that knowledge to. Not everybody needs to know what you know. And I've learned that over the years. I used to think everybody needs to know what I know. And I've learned, no, they don't. Because there are just some things that people just aren't ready. They're not ready to lead at that capacity. Their lifestyle may not be calling for it. Their finances may not be calling for it. And definitely their time may not be calling, that for them to lead like that. So make sure that you know people well enough that if they're hungry for it, they're going to come to you and they're going to challenge you. Hey, I would like to learn more about, X, Y, and Z. Can you help me learn how to put my influence into action? Those are the hungry people that you can sit down with now and you can share that wisdom and that knowledge with. But not everybody has the capacity to lead like you. Okay, so now let's discuss. What opportunities do you need to lead yourself better so that you can lead others well? Think about that. Do you need a mentor? Do you need a leadership coach? Do you need a pastor with strong leadership skills? What do you need to lead yourself better so that you can lead others well? Can you think of anything off the top of your head? Like, what kind of opportunities? Do you need people? Do you need resources? How do you need to be challenged?
I think for me personally, like having like a mentor or a leadership coach would be beneficial. Only because most of my leadership skills have come from the military or being in other classes.
Okay. Now, have you ever had a leadership coach, Mallory?
I have not.
Okay. Okay. How about you, Elizabeth? I can't hear you.
Well,
Sorry.
I
Oh,
don't know. I just don't know.
okay.
And I feel like I'm just trying to be open to opportunities that come before me. I feel like a sponge. So I'm looking for an awareness of when something's an opportunity.
Okay. So I'm going to challenge you, Elizabeth, because Mallory was super specific,
Mm-hmm.
that is going to end up showing up in her life because
Yeah.
she's seeking it.
Yes.
So sometimes if you're too broad and you're not
Mm-hmm.
really specific, it's probably right in front of you, but you're not You're not even like you say, aware of it, right?
Mhm.
So if you're specific, like what kind of a mentor, what kind of a leadership coach, or even a pastor, the more specific you are, the quicker it's going to show up.
Mhm.
So I would just challenge you to make a note of that. So that way you're aware of what that looks like.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for sharing with both of that. Okay. So here now we are going to talk about tough truths. And this is the part of leadership that really makes me uncomfortable. I'll be completely transparent. Leadership is really hard because you have to be accountable. So do you avoid accountability or do you embrace the tension? So I love this picture because I saw the guy on the left trying to explain something, whatever it is, but the other two looked like some kind of coaches or mentors, and they were trying to process and help him work through a breakthrough, but it looked hard. It just looked challenging and it looked hard. It looked like it could have been his finances. I don't know. I was just trying to put like a story to what he was trying to say. So, what do you do when you know you're being challenged with something that you need to be accountable to a mentor or to a leadership coach? Like, do you embrace that tension? Is it hard for you? Or do you just avoid all of that accountability and pretend like it's not in the room?
I think I embrace it, but I'm learning I need to pause more because sometimes I can see where there's an underlying struggle way before they do, and I have to wait for them to see it and not be afraid of more silence.
Okay. Now give me like one or two ways that like you say, you wait for them to see it. What does
Or
that look
I
like?
just wait for them to think. They may not see it that day or whenever. I mean, but you're just giving them time to process.
Okay. And are you saying like you confront them first though?
I may say, I'm wondering if you're feeling this or if you're doing this rather than that.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's a good challenge. That's a good split. I call that a split challenge. That's really
Yes.
good. Yeah,
And just let them think. Don't explain anymore. It's really,
I like that. That inspires me. That's very good. How about you, Mallory?
So I definitely think that I embrace the tension where I
Mhm.
want to know, like, if I'm not doing something correctly, I'd rather like have the conversation versus not know and continue on the wrong path.
mhm.
Yeah,
Um, I'm very big on constructive criticism. Like, there's obviously a way to go about it, but I'm definitely open to that
yeah.
kind of stuff.
So, Mallory, were you seeing yourself as the person being criticized or the person doing the leadership? I was answering as if I was the leader, not the person.
You could do it
Um,
either way though.
yeah, like I guess thinking about that, I could go either way with that.
Yeah, we all could.
Um, I mean, I guess looking at this, like being the person that has to give the criticism, but also take it from your upper management.
Taking it's definitely harder.
Yeah, it
Yes.
is. Yeah, I will be an open book. I embrace the tension because I know I have to, because I know that God's getting ready to break something in me. Because I avoid it, because I do both. Sometimes I avoid it because I'm waiting to see, is this something I need to confront or should I just let it go? And like that part to me sometimes gets really challenging
Hmm.
as a leader, right? And I'm thinking about the other person as I'm leading. Do I confront them with this accountability or do I just embrace the tension and just open it up and just hit it? Now, when it comes to me and I know one of my pastors has to confront me, oh, it's so hard
Oh,
because they have such a strong calling to make sure that we're walking in truth. And if we're blindsided by something and we don't see it, they have to come and hit us so hard, with that accountability and just say, I see this in you right now, and I'm asking you to think about X, Y, and Z, because if you don't, that's going to hurt your character. And I'm like, oh, you're right. You're absolutely right. I know, I'm sorry, and I have to apologize. I have to repent. And I really have to think about those things because they're blinders for us, right? So just be thinking of those ways of how you can lead. I like what that word came up to me with the split challenge, Elizabeth, that you just said. Is it this or that? I love that. That truly did inspire me. So think of those tough truths that you have to lead with in your leadership to either embrace the accountability or the tension. Okay, so this is one of the things that I love to talk about. And I'm probably going to sit on this just for a couple of minutes. So leadership is a responsibility, right? No one else is responsible for your leadership development. And I tell our women circle groups, I tell our youth and young adults, I tell married couples in our church, you have to seize it. What does that look like? It can only come from the word of God. You cannot buy leadership. You cannot earn leadership. All you can do is study leadership. The greatest leader of all time is Jesus. The way he led was the perfect example of how we're supposed to lead. He didn't lead through emotions. He just led through truth. And he didn't care about what we thought. He really doesn't care about, our emotions. He just wants to confront things, and he wants to get us into accountability and around other people that are studying the word. That is our responsibility as a Christian. So I would encourage you guys to make sure that you stay involved in the Bible and the word. The reason being is you have to consider your character. Your character is about pursuing Christ likeness. So again, it goes back to, what did Jesus do in this situation? How would he have handled it? Why is my character being challenged right now? Where am I not living up to the word of God? You really have to check yourself and self-evaluate. I do this a lot when I'm sitting under a sermon on a Sunday morning. I listen to our pastors really bring the conviction home. What do I need to be doing better? How do I need to be leading better? What did I do last week that I can turn into an opportunity to strengthen my leadership skills? So those are some of the things that we need to be taking into consideration when it comes to character development. So how do you foster your growth? These are some of the ways that I'm going to give you. Online inspiration. The ways that I do it, I'm seeking God and his nature through online sermons and worship music. I let those things inspire me. I follow people or brands that inspire the word of God, and I also subscribe to email lists that help me stay sharp. Last week, I did share a lot of resources with some people, like I follow Chad Veach. I follow Craig Groeschel. I follow him mainly because he pastors 44 campuses. And I just think that's incredible. I would love to just have that capacity that you can lead 44 campuses. How many people, I'm wondering, daily does he come in contact with where he has to touch base through his leadership in fostering his own growth to lead at that capacity? So think of some online sermons that you can follow. I will even give you ours. Ours is GWA Family on YouTube. And we have some incredible leadership sermons that you can follow. Our youth ministry is WAO Youth. And our youth pastor is incredible with leadership skills. He knows his theology. He knows how to lead from a place of authority. My twin girls, they're 24 years old and they're involved in his ministry and they work for him. And so they get a lot of leadership development through our sermons. So yeah, I'll give you those. And then if you're on my email list, Mallory, I even can send out some more links to help you grow in that area. So Another way, obviously, is that you can foster your growth. Again, I Help I Work with People was one of the best books I read. You can get that online through Amazon. That is the author Chad Veach. And that book just helped me really think about when I'm around people, how to use my people skills. Because I discovered with going like to all these networking groups and even in my church and just going out into the world, how many people lack people skills? They really just don't know how to engage people. And I think even social media has dumbed people down. It's made people become like weak. They don't want to stand in confidence. They don't want to stand in anything that they believe in that is true. They just want to follow the culture. And I'm not about following the culture because it's not healthy. The culture right now is not healthy. The church is healthy. We are leading from a place of authority and we are leading from a place of power right now. So the darker the culture gets, the stronger the church gets as well. So study the wisdom that has gone before you because leaders are readers. So if you have books that you need to be tapping into, definitely pull them out and start reading those books. Another way that you can foster your growth, obviously, these circles matter. So surround yourself with people smarter than you. Write down right now 3 people. Mallory, I think you already have somebody in mind from the divisional leadership guy that you still keep and communicate with. Surround yourself with people smarter than you. Write down 3 people that you can constantly go to collaborate and talk through some things and make sure they challenge you. Don't make sure they agree with you, but make sure they challenge you. So think of ways that you can come around in those circles and start challenging those people and ask them, how can I grow in this area? What are some ways that I can, learn to challenge myself in that area? So another thing that I'm noticing with a lot of young adults is that they don't take initiative, right? The things that I tell them, the number one thing you need to do is develop discipline. And I mean, like the night before, write down the 3 things that you need to accomplish the next day. Basic discipline 101. Set goals in all areas of life. What are they? In personal, in professional, in your family, and even for fun. Maybe it's, I want to take a vacation in 6 months and I want to go to, Italy, whatever it is. But what does that look like? Take initiative, write down those steps. Let's talk about professional. So Mallory, you talked about that your work challenges you with leadership growth, a growth system. So what does that look like? So do I hire a leadership coach? Do I look for a mentor in the workplace that I can come under? Do I find a healthy church that I can develop my leadership skills? What are 3 things you can do this week to take the initiative to develop yourself in fostering your growth? And then even implement those strategies with other people that are around you. Okay, so now let's discuss these hard truths. So think about how does your personality affect your leadership? What unhealthy expectations have you had of the leaders around you? And which disciplines do you need to develop to grow in your self-leadership? So you can pick one of those questions that speak the most to you and then just share with me like your thoughts on the question.
So looking at these questions, my personality specifically, I'm a very headstrong, get it done type of person. And some of the generational gaps I want to use per se, not everybody has the same work ethic that I was brought up on, or don't like especially specifically the younger generation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing I struggle with as a leader is knowing how to approach them when it comes to getting stuff done versus just saying, okay, this is what needs to be done. It needs to be done now. And understanding that everyone has differences.
Yeah, that's good. So if you don't mind me asking, Mallory, what generation are you? Do you know, like, are you a millennial or are you Gen Z?
I personally don't, I was born in 1990, so I have no idea. But like,
That
I'm a
would
very old
be,
soul. So like I was brought up where everything you have you work for. Like things weren't just handed to me.
yeah.
And again, translate from the military to where you worked. You didn't just sit around and wait for someone to tell you what to do. You just did it and it was done and you moved on with your day.
That's so funny. You keep saying military because that's my leadership. I'm a militant. I tell people, like, if you ask me a question, just be prepared that I'm going to give you the strongest answer because I don't know any other answer. I don't know how to deliver a softer way because my
Mhm.
leadership is very, very militant. It's black or white. There's nothing in between. Take it or leave it. Do what you want with it. It's not my problem now. You asked me, and so now it's your responsibility to do something with it. So I can totally understand where you're coming from. I believe you're a millennial. So millennials love the leadership style of Gen X. And so I'm Gen X. And Gen X, we have that type of leadership style. And I believe it's because of social media. Social media didn't distract us like it does today to the Gen Xer or the Gen Zers. The Gen Zers are very distracted. They don't know how to implement things. They don't want to implement things. They tend to, it's funny because they tend to want things overnight, but don't understand that it takes 10 to 20 years to develop where you want to go. You can't just get that overnight and not put the work in. So I find that that's fascinating that you said that. The approach to them is ownership. I will tell you that. They want to take ownership of the project. So when you give them a project, you have to challenge them and say, in what ways does this project help you take ownership in? What do you want to see accomplished in this project? From A to Z, what steps will you take to get there? What does that look like? What do you want the end results to be? Do you see how they're all open questions, but they're challenging them? And then once you push them, that's how you push them. You push them by getting them to think about, okay, so you want this and this. See, the problem is with Gen Z, see my hands? They don't see all the in between. All they see is the start and the finish. All they want is the finish. They don't want the in between. They don't want to work for things. They don't want to think about things. They just want the finish. They want the end result. They want instantaneity for everything. And it tends to frustrate the older generation because we're the ones that have to teach them, okay, there's a gap. What does your gap look like from point A to point B? Tell me some steps that you're going to do this way. And you know what you have to do? You have to meet with them regularly and say, okay, I've given you this project. And so in the next 2 days, I want you to show me how far you've gotten. And then we're going to meet and we're going to talk about it. Because what ends up happening is you discover their learning habits, you discover their opportunities to grow. And that helps them be accountable because they know, man, I got to get this done in 2 days because Mallory's going to sit down with me and ask me if I got anything done. So if you say, I want this project done in 30 days, set a false deadline with them and say, I want it done in 25 days because you're going to need some buffer room. Something's going to happen. Life's going to happen. They may miss a deadline. They may miss an opportunity, but set a false deadline and say, okay, I want this done in 25 days. And then say, okay, we're going to meet 3 times before this deadline. And then they're going to get to work. And then you just tell them, I'm empowering you to take ownership of this project. I want to see what you're capable of. If it's too big, then shorten the project down. Some people can't handle a 30-day project. Some people can only handle a 7-day project. And then you really have to break it down in like crumbs. I don't know if that helps, but it may help you see how can I push someone that can lead at the capacity that I need them to lead in, if that makes sense. Okay, Elizabeth, what do you see?
I'm becoming more aware just listening. Wow. Well, I'm a baby boomer
Yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah, that you'd have to check in every 2 days. It's like, oh my goodness,
yeah,
that's a good awareness. And that's probably, and I hear a lot of this from employers talking to me about how people come and work for them and it seems like they don't want to work, but maybe what it really is they're not checking in every 2 days until they get the ownership. They don't have the ownership. It, they're just instantaneous minded video game mindset. Whereas I've always had long-term goals and broken them down smaller and just personally been perfecting techniques to do that more. I would think if I was checking in with you, if I checked in every week or every other week, it would be plenty, but apparently not. If they're that,
it depends on the learning style. So like what
Mhm.
Mallory said, she pinpointed the younger generation,
Yes, well,
right? So
yes,
with
well, those are
you,
the future.
yeah, and with you, if you were to take on a baby boomer was to take on a Gen Z,
Hmm.
that's how you have to train them up.
Yes,
Now,
this is,
now you might not be able to do that with a millennial. They may be a little bit more structured.
yeah. And would they let you know? Or would they say two is too much? How about no? Or just
Most
try
of the
it?
time they won't because they don't know how to communicate. They lack communication skills.
So just try it, try 2 days and then try bumping it to four or something.
Yep.
And if they
Yep.
flounder, go back.
Yep.
Oh, that's
You're
amazing.
learning and you're what you're doing is you're developing their learning skill set.
Yes.
It's a skill set. Everybody has a different skill set. So for me, I like a weekly check. A weekly check-in is fine. I don't need every 2 days. Now, again, Gen Z might need that because they don't
Hmm.
have the skill set. They don't have principles instilled in how they learn. They don't have communication skills. They don't have and I'm saying like, you know, they're not a completely lost generation at all by any means, but they just learn differently because of all the technology in front of them. Everything's so instantaneously that they expect results in instantaneously and they don't understand that you've got to put in the work.
Yes.
So it is a skill set to teach them that way. And so um, that's something that is can be challenging for an older generation. Now, especially I will tell you, me and Mallory with the same leadership style we have, this militant, it will drive us crazy because
Hmm.
we don't have time to babysit. We want things done when they get
Hmm.
done. We don't want to have
Yes.
to go back. We don't want to have to babysit the person, but unfortunately, those type of people that need to develop their leadership skills, that is what they need.
Hmm.
That is what they need and you have to be willing to put in the time. So, I
And
can
it's
help with that.
And it's not that they're not good people and not that they
Right.
don't have a lot of value. It's just that, like you're saying, you have to take the time to put in to develop that skill set, and nobody has.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, one of the things that I learned over the last few years is I am not an auditory learner, meaning if I'm in a meeting and I'm sitting there and I'm taking a bunch of notes and I'm
Mhm.
trying to envision in my head, what the heck does this look like? I
Ah,
told one of our pastors, I says, you know what we're missing? We're missing the visual aspect. I need a whiteboard.
mhm.
Can you visually show me what you're saying, what that looks like? Because I used to be a hairdresser for 30 years. And I tried that in the beginning, an auditory example of tell me what it is you want by the time I'm done cutting your hair. And it would never be anything that they would tell me. And so I had a mentor in the salon that told me, you're a visual learner. You need a picture. And I went, oh, that
Yeah.
makes so much sense. They told me that when they're explaining something to you and they show you this is what I want, but what they're saying is completely opposite, you now get to teach them, I want you to know that this is not blonde. This is actually light brown. But they would say blonde to me. And so I would take them to be blonde. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is so light. I didn't want it this light. And I'm like, but you said blonde. But if they showed me a picture of what they thought blonde was, and I would
Yes.
think, wow, I was so off base. So I got really good at asking for a visual. So when you're coaching and you're developing leaders, ask them for a visual. Well, what do you think that looks like? Show me a picture. Explain to me more. And so that's my skill set, is I need to see what you're saying. Isn't that weird? It's like my eyes need to see what you're saying through my ears. So those are my two senses that are always working, my eyes and ears, but my eyes kick in faster than my ears. So just be thinking about that too. Okay, we got about 7 minutes here. So here's some takeaways. What are some thoughts that you captured in this training that inspired you, and how are you going to implement it?
Well, I think I already said that with the realizing that other people need a lot more frequent check-ins.
Yeah,
And
it's good.
I just have some people in mind that I'm gonna just family. I'm gonna check in with more, say, how are you doing with this or that? Because I would get
Okay.
frustrated people dropping balls, why are you always dropping the ball?
Yep.
It's like, maybe I need to be checking in every 2 days. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never occurred to me. It's
Yeah.
like, didn't you put it on your calendar?
Yeah. And it does get to that point where you should be expecting that from someone if you're telling them that.
Yes.
They can't
And
live up to that standard if you're not telling them that.
right. And they have to develop the mindset and the tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Mallory?
So I definitely think there was a couple things. One was obviously having that support system, someone I can go to,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but also being aware of the differences with learning styles and leadership styles and how they can either be very good together or very bad together, and
Yep.
being aware of that.
Yep, that's very good. I'm getting ready to learn how to do the DISC program myself. And so I want to implement that into people's workplaces so that they can understand, oh, I'm working with a D person, and then pair those people up. An S person would work way better with a D person, and just teach people like, what does that look like? So
Mhm.
but yeah, think of ways of how you're going to implement that this coming week, because it's definitely going to be a different perspective. Okay, so we're going to wrap up real quick. Next leadership training is October 11th. Again, it's from 11 to 12. You can sign up on Eventbrite to join my list. Please invite your circle of influence. Think about people that would benefit from this, right? Have them share the link, have them sign up. Think of who do you know that needs personal development and leadership skills. So my ask for from you today is you can book a discovery call with me. So my website is CoraJDugan.com. Obviously, that's my email. I sell 3 to 6 month packages, or I do one-on-one packages. Maybe you don't need 3 months. Maybe you don't need 6 months. Maybe you just need like a one-off and say, you know what, I just got this one issue that I'm trying to overcome. Maybe for you, Mallory, it's you know what, let's do a leadership session about leadership styles. I have this one particular team or person that I just can't seem to break through in, and I want to learn more about how to coach them and lead them. My goal is to walk together and grow in Christ. I've had a lot of discipleship skills through my church, and I want to help disciple people, and I want to teach them what that looks like, because we have solutions for the world. So again, let's connect. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, and I'm on LinkedIn. So we have 3 minutes left. Do you guys have any questions? Do you have anything that you'd like to add? Did you feel this was valuable? On a scale from 1 to 10, I would love your feedback on this. On a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being absolutely horrible and 10 being like, this was exactly what I needed. This is perfect. I don't have any issues at all or whatever. How would you rate this training? I just need to know where I need to get better.
Mhm. Well, I give it a 10. Anytime I can come away with, I mean, I made lists of people that I need to contact, and I made, and just a new awareness of checking in with people more frequently and being
Mhm.
clear. I think I am very clear, but but I need to check in
Yeah.
and not get frustrated if when I check in, if they're not where I think they should be, and
Yeah.
just keep and ask. Is that question? I wrote it down. What it would look like if they had ownership of this.
Yes. That's huge.
So that's to me, that's all very, very valuable.
Very good. What about you, Mallory?
I would definitely say a 10. It was very informative for me as like a manager, but also as a person who has to be led, for lack of better terms. And just knowing that, you know, there's different ways to go about it, and knowing that having a support system isn't a bad thing, even though you are like the leader.
Gosh, you need one.
Yeah, every leader needs a coach and every coach needs a coach. That's one of the things that I do is I coach coaches because it's basically leadership development. Coaches already have the gift of leadership, but they just need to be strengthened and you know, just grow more. I have my pastors that are constantly holding me accountable to the things that I say and teach. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that accountability. So very good. Thank you guys so much for your input. I will be uploading this to YouTube and I will email you guys the link so you guys can watch it again, or maybe you can share it with someone that needs this training.
And then how do we get the invite for the next meeting? I just show up. I haven't been.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. Apparently on Eventbrite, I think you have to update my Zoom link. I have to go in there and put a new one in there.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure that's how they do it. I'm not sure yet
Well, I
though,
don't
but
go to Eventbrite. Should I be getting an email from Eventbrite?
yeah, and you have to confirm the email as well.
Okay. I'll have
So,
to
yeah.
look. I just show up.
Yeah. Well, if it works for you, then that's good. But I'll be sending the email out again for a
Okay.
recap.
All
Yeah.
right. I'll watch for it. Thank
Yeah.
you. All right.
Okay.
You have a blessed week. Nice to meet you, Mallory.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you guys too.
Okay. Nice to meet you. And I will see you guys in a couple weeks, hopefully.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.